Tonight you are honoring two of my personal heroes. One I just happened to be married to, and the other is one of our dearest friends. How privileged I feel to have lived at the White House during such an exciting time in our country's history.
It was my great privilege to serve as part of your national security team. I think it's one of the best in recent history, primarily because of the leadership you provided, Mr. President, as Commander-in-Chief, and because of the enormous skill Brent provided in stitching it all together as National Security Advisor.
It was a remarkable institution in those days, with a Secretary of State and a Secretary of Defense who were thoroughly cooperative. But most important of all, I think, was the relationship between General Scowcroft and the President.
The Bush-Scowcroft partnership provides a text and a roadmap for a successful system of national security management.
These two men combine their brains, their vision, their wisdom, and their judgment to make the world a safer place. They serve as a role model for a lot of people who want to understand how to conduct foreign policy.
When the Berlin Wall crumbled and the communist flag came down over the Kremlin, it was in large part because of the visionary, shrewd, careful stewardship of President Bush and his indispensable friend and advisor, Brent Scowcroft.
It is now taken for granted that the end of the Cold War was inevitable in the manner in which it took place. But in fact, the unification of Germany, the liberation of the satellite orbit, and then the end of Russian imperialism were a series of landmines, every one of which could have thrown the world into catastrophe.
During these tumultuous times, the world was the beneficiary of the remarkable vision and the steady leadership of President George Bush and his team.
President Bush and General Scowcroft were real friends, and it enabled them to work well together.
I shall always remember President Bush for his ability to sum up a situation and take the requisite action. That's what he and Brent Scowcroft did when, without warning, Iraq suddenly invaded Kuwait.
We view this situation with gravity. We view it as a matter of grave concern to this country and internationally as well. Put simply, he ensured that I received the unfettered advice of our key national security members. He offered his own consistently sage counsel and practical advice on all aspects of the crisis. A true patriot, General Scowcroft is in a very real sense one of the unsung heroes of the Gulf War.
At one point, the President decided that he needed to reduce the level of forces in Europe, so he sent Bob Gates, who was then Scowcroft's deputy, and me to Europe to talk to the various leaders and explain that we were going to reduce troops. And we started with Prime Minister Thatcher. Later on, she described to Vice President Quayle our visits by saying, "George Bush keeps sending me Tweedledum and Tweedledee." I have never yet figured out whether Gates was Tweedledum or I was, but it was one of my experiences with the Prime Minister that I will never forget, and probably never forgive the President for having put me into that situation.
I know I made a deep mark on President Bush when I called him the night of his senatorial election with the later Senator Benson, and congratulated him on his victory because he was ahead in the early returns. And I noticed that in all the intervening years, he's never asked me for my political judgment again.
When General Scowcroft and I went to Beijing after the Tiananmen Square uprising, we went there to emphasize to the Chinese our horror at what had happened. I remember several things very well, the first of which was that Scowcroft was remarkably good at giving the Chinese a tough lecture while at the same time doing it in a way that saved face for the Chinese. It was a very masterful exercise on the general's part, and I admired it greatly.
President Bush well understood the benefits of opening markets and what that would do for democracy, and he did it well in every quarter of the globe.
In the last resort, the world depends upon the democratic nations to uphold what is right. In that task, George Bush and Brent Scowcroft never faltered. They richly deserve this great honor.
My congratulations, and let me just say how proud I was to serve with both of you through some very interesting times in American history.
Congratulations, President Bush. Congratulations, Brent. You both deserve this prestigious award.
General Scowcroft and Dad, congratulations on winning the Victory of Freedom Award. I am so proud of both of you. I'm particularly proud of my dad. Me and the rest of the family had a front row seat to watch history unfold, and how you handled your job as president will make me proud and my children proud for the rest of our lives. You are a spectacular father, a great statesman. We love you very much, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor.
They are two of the most decent people I've ever met in my life, and they deserve this award as no one has before or will since.
To George and Brent, on behalf of Betty and me, congratulations on the Victory of Freedom Award.
Congratulations to two great Americans who have served their country with distinction.
I've always said my dad is going to be judged as a great president because first and foremost, he's a great man. Dad, I love you. General Scowcroft, congratulations.
I'm grateful to call them friends, and I'm delighted to congratulate them on this wonderful occasion.
Congratulations, George and Brent. I love you both very, very much.
I can't think of two more deserving Americans to receive the Victory of Freedom Award than President Bush and my dear friend, Brent Scowcroft. It was my privilege to work with them in the Bush administration during 4 of the most historic years in this century. Years in which we did see the triumph of freedom. We did see the victory of freedom around the world. And it occurred in so many ways, in so many places, we sometimes forget the sweep of history that unfolded during those 4 years. These two gentlemen give us an example of public service that I hope will touch every American who thinks about this period and who reads and sometimes listens to words about this period of history. Two men who were always willing to do their very best for the nation. And as a result, we enter this new century with unprecedented opportunities for pushing the dream of freedom, the free enterprise system, and the individual rights of men and women around the world. And so to my friends at the Nixon Library, you've chosen well. For George Bush and for Brent Scowcroft, I salute both of them. I wish I could be with them this evening. I wish I could be with you all as you celebrate the achievements of these two gentlemen. And guys, I just want to let you know how much I admire, appreciate, and even though it may be a little corny for a former general to say this, love my former commander-in-chief and the guy who replaced me as National Security Advisor as well, Brent Scowcroft. Have a great evening, guys. Look forward to seeing you soon.